Earlier in March this year, a video clip went viral on the internet when Professor Robert Kelly was on a Skype live interview with BBC News. Suddenly, his kids marched into the room and started to play with their dad in front of the camera. Soon, the mom rushed in and took the kids away. While millions of netizens were having a great laugh on this funny moment, someone left comments like, "Ooh, please let us know if the nanny was terminated after this interview." Or, "Poor nanny, she's so going to be fired after this." And I can't stop thinking, why did people just naturally consider the mom a nanny? Was it because she looked a little bit panicking? Or because of, well, what she was wearing? Or just because of her Asian look? Well, as an Asian myself, I have confronted many awkwardly funny moments like this since I went abroad. I remember that "help me" look on my classmate's face when we were having a very challenging mathematics course. Well, he didn't really know me that well back then, but just somehow assumed that I must be an expert on mathematics. Well, sure, I mean, getting an A in mathematics is, well, exactly what I do, you know? Because we're Asians. I also remember that guy I met for the first time said to me, "Hey, where are you from?" "Oh, you're from China. Cool. Can you cook for me?" Okay, well, I later realized it was supposed to be a pickup line, right? And that finally explains the sticky handshake. Strange thing, it didn't occur to him back then that I might know Kung Fu as well. And I certainly remember that killing question people just ask me hundreds of times ever since they know my country of origin. So really, do you eat dogs in China? As I was sick and tired of such encounters, I started to wonder why. And then I realized, well, this is not only concerning Asian people. People from other places will have to face the similar issues as well. For instance, Spanish people are often asked if they can dance flamenco, and I'm sure Finnish people are frustrated by explaining over and over again that, well, not all the Finns are alcoholics. You don't speak Russian, actually? And there is no polar bears just walking on the streets in Finland. So imagine, why are there only a few labels available for people, even though there are billions of inhabitants on planet Earth? Well, I thought about it. And the first reason, I think, is as a product of identity. The me and you, the us and them, the self and the other, mutually construct each other and are often reduced and solidified. Therefore, when there's an encounter between the self and the other, it is somehow natural for us to label each other. A second reason is these labels are simple, vivid, and easily recognized. Something like this. So instead of individual personalities, we tend to take a snapshot of people, for instance, based on their appearance or national identities, and then we label others by using these snapshots, which are also known as stereotypes. When you try to Google who are the Finns, this is shown on Wikipedia. Are you actually trying to read the text? How lovely of you, because just a very friendly reminder, this is only the very first paragraph of the description. So apparently, it is quite difficult to understand everything within a short time. No mention to memorizing them. On the contrary, when you see these images, who else can they possibly remind you of? This is probably why these images, so-called the Finnish national emojis, are launched as by This is Finland. Among all the problems of stereotypes, one of them is the generalized images are, let's say, not always up to date. Some years ago, I was invited to attend an event at a Finnish casino where they wanted to celebrate Chinese New Year. Just don't take it wrong. Well, I don't gamble at all. I was just merely curious of, well, casinos, of course, and this very event. I mean, why and how a Finnish casino is going to celebrate, well, our New Year, right? Well, things went pretty okay at the beginning of my very first trip to a casino. I mean, they decorated part of the interior in a, let's say, traditional Chinese way and prepared tasty Chinese foods. Well, everything was okay. But when the Finnish waiter showed up, everybody froze. I see that every single Chinese guest was trying to stare at him, but try not to do that at the same time. This is simply something one cannot unsee. Without exaggerating anything, the waiter back then in the casino looked just like this. He dressed like this, wore strange makeup, including the mustache and the pigtail. And he had the similar look, just like this. Well, I kind of understand the look, actually. I mean, anybody who is asked to, well, dress like this cannot look happy. What I didn't understand is why? Why would anyone want to, well, wear ridiculous costume and makeup like this? It took me quite a while. And then I think I can only assume that the casino, well, maybe they wanted to show some hospitality by utilizing their limited knowledge about China. And a typical Chinese image to them, well, happened to be Fu Manchu. In case you don't know yet, he is a Chinese version of Professor Moriarty, Mr. Evil, who was actually created almost 100 years ago by the Westerners. So at that night, I guess every single Chinese guest just had this question to the casino. Do we Chinese people look like this to you? So just like this, little by little, people start to realize, well, maybe it is not appropriate to label others by using negative stereotypes, especially after they have experienced this themselves. And then you may ask, well, then how about the positive stereotypes, the good ones? Well, here is one example. One day, I was having a discussion with my friends on how cultural differences may give an impact on relationships. And then a Nigerian guy complained that, well, people here always see him as a sex machine. And then everybody in the room was laughing. And another guy just asked him, dude, isn't it a good thing? You're saying this as if it is a sweet burden to you or something. And then the Nigerian guy answered disappointedly, "No, not really. I would rather want people to know more about me." Another example comes from the 2016 Academy Awards. While the host was complaining about no black people being nominated for an Oscar or something, he introduced 3 Asian kids who were, according to him, the most dedicated, accurate, and hardworking representatives from an accounting company. And then he added, "It's okay. Well, if anyone's upset about that joke, just tweet about it on your phone, which was also made by these kids." Many people were upset because Asian people merely became a stereotype of smartness and a reference to child labor. These examples just show that it is not always a pleasant feeling to be generalized. Even sometimes it seems like you're given a positive image. Because, first of all, this is not you. The so-called positive stereotype, they still generalize you, and there are still characteristics people imagine about you. And usually when people look at you in a stereotypical way, they tend to lose the interest on finding out who you really are. And once they realize you're different from their imagination, people would always say, "Well, you're not like a typical Chinese or Finnish," and they get really disappointed. Therefore, even though the Finnish national emojis are really adorable, just imagine what kind of a message they might send to people when you see, well, these images. The Finnish love, a Finnish, famous bus stop, and my personal favorite, the Finnish way of happiness. Secondly, positive stereotypes are still a showcase of condescending judgment. Just as one of my European friends once told me from the bottom of her heart, "Oh, you're like the coolest Asian I've ever known." Well, I think she probably means that I'm different from a typical Asian. I probably am more outgoing than she expected. I make jokes. I speak fluent English. I told her I have never eaten a dog in my life, and most importantly, I don't take photos 24/7 everywhere as they imagined. In real life, people are all individuals and are all different. Meanwhile, we're not that different from one another. Who said only Asian tourists hold the copyright of taking lots of photos? And it doesn't matter if the stereotypes are positive or negative. They still reduce people to a few simple and essential characteristics and symbolically fix boundaries between people. So why don't we just drop the labels and be ourselves? There is one thing we should always remind ourselves. The label you put on others doesn't even show 1% of who they are, but 100% of who you are. Thank you.